let's go back to the HIV part.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get it? Do you know where you got it?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Look, it goes back to 2007. I was in college.
Thokozani, Sanbonani, Dumelani, Abshen, hello. Welcome back, guys, again on the Venting podcast with the one and only Gogos Koteni. Akekho omunye uya kuphela South Africa yonke. Well, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Please don't just watch. Press that button of subscribing. And also, if you need to advertise with me on my Venting podcast, here is an email on the screen. Also, if you need consultations by me, Pela, I'm a traditional healer. I'm a consultant. I'm a life coach. So if you need any of my ancestors, there's a screen there, right? And then there's numbers there on the screen. And if you need to buy any of my products, I'm selling almost everything. There's a link there on the screen as well. Well, today I have the one and only Motsumi. Behind the scene, she was like, "Hey, Gogo, khanti anchu sutu kire, hey, akele emeng hanyane tu." There are some words I can't pronounce. How are you doing?
I think it's the name. Like, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm
Great.
good. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome.
It's an honor.
Really?
To be in your presence. It's an honor.
Oh, thank you very much. Who's Lebu Motsumi?
Oh, wow. I get the question, hey, I don't like it. But Lebogang Brenda Motsumi is, well, I'm on social media, I'm known as Babes with HIV.
Babes with HIV?
Yeah, Babes with HIV. I'll tell people why that name.
Mm-hmm.
But I am an HIV activist, inspirational speaker. I'm an author. I'm an up-and-coming entrepreneur. Up-and-coming also life coach. I'm currently doing a life coach course right now.
That's nice.
And I'm a mother, most importantly. I'm
Yeah.
a mother to a 13-year-old. And Lebogang is just a young woman who has been to hell and back, has cheated death a lot of times, and is just really using her story to inspire, educate, and to bring hope. And that is just who I am.
Okay, so when you say you're an HIV babe, are you
Babes
saying
with HIV.
for babes with HIV? Are you saying you're HIV positive?
Yes, I'm living with HIV. That's how the name came about. It came about, I think, in 2018 or 19, you know?
Okay.
So for me, the reason I was tweeting, I was doing a thread on Twitter, and I was like, hashtag babes with HIV. And I think I did that because for relevance purposes, you know, nobody wants to really read anything that has to do with HIV, you know? But the moment I tweet or I post and I write to babes with HIV, people like, what's this? Why would you want to call yourself that? You know, it sparks interest. You know what I'm saying? And I use that name to grab people's attention to read my content or watch my videos or whatever the case is, you know? And I am a babes with HIV. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, why are you smiling when you talk about it? Are you proud that you're HIV positive?
why must I be sad, Gogo? Like, I'm living with HIV. There's nothing I can do. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to say I'm proud, but I am proudly living with it, and I've accepted that this is what I'm living with, and I'm living with other 4 chronic illnesses, you know.
Which are?
So it's the HIV, it's the bipolar, kidney failure, anemia, hypertension.
Bipolar is a sickness.
Bipolar, it's a mental illness.
Okay.
It's a chronic mental illness. So it falls under your depression, your mental illness, basically.
Also,
so
having a mental illness.
It's a chronic illness.
It's a chronic illness.
You can get diagnosed by a psychiatrist. You've got bipolar or you've got major depression, and then you get put on chronic medication. It's actually even they also classify it as kind of, what is it? What is it?
Crippled.
As a disability.
Disability.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's classified as a disability. I just found that out a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so it's a chronic illness because you take meds for the rest of your life to be able to control Ilona, your emotions.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got...
So not being able to control your emotions, it's a mental problem.
It's a mental illness because you get depressed. So when people say bipolar, they think you're schizophrenic, you're crazy, you know? So there's bipolar 1, which is manic, where you do excessive things, like maybe you'll shout, you'll throw things around, when it's into hectic, right? Then there's bipolar 2, which is the depressive one. When you're depressed, you get very depressed. So I could be sitting with you now and I could in 1 second feel like I want to kill myself.
So you have all these diseases.
Yeah.
And anemia. You said anemia.
Anemia. So anemia is so the kidney failure is what caused the hypertension and the anemia, right? So anemia is just lack of blood. So I'm a red cells blood whammy. They don't operate the way they're supposed to. So
like your blood
is
flow.
not sufficient, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I'm still here. I'm good.
So, let's go back to the HIV part. How did you get it? Do you know where you got it?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Look, it goes back to 2007. I was in college. Yes, I was in college. And Mankula, I was this person who had low self-esteem because I was big. I was a big girl. I grew up in the suburbs, but my back room. My mom was a domestic worker. I was not living in the big fancy house. I lived in the back room. And I went to a multiracial school. When you go to such schools, abantu abafunda laphana, social-wise, we're not on the same level. So that messed with loving myself, with my self-esteem, and somehow feeling important in society, you know, because, you know, kids are mean. You get bullied, you know, and things like that. And then as time goes by, my parents also got divorced. So now I had the void of, I had the father figure. He's no longer there. And my dad and I were pretty tight when my parents were married, and now he was no longer there. So as I grew into my teens, I lived most of my teens longing for attention from a male figure, you know? So that's now dating, you know, dating because I want approval, to be told I'm beautiful, I'm important, I love you, you belong. You know, those are words that I yearned for and wanted them from a male figure. Okay. Right. And then I had an obsession of being famous. I've always wanted to be on TV. Okay. I've always wanted to act, present. When I was growing up, we didn't stay very far from the OTV studios back then. And there were times when we would go on weekends, be part of the studio. Be part of when you're in studio and part of the audience, you know? And then fast forward 2007, I'm that girl. I go to college. I turn up like nobody's business. And as much as I was 16, 17, so it didn't really show that I was young. So I could walk into a club and nobody would question my age. So in 2017, I was in a club somewhere in Hillbrow. Yes, in Hillbrow.
Hillbrow.
In Hillbrow. Hillbrow was still sophisticated back then.
Okay.
Not like now.
Okay.
So I was in a nightclub in Hillbrow. I'm not going to say the name. I'm not going to give them free advertisement. So when we were there, I don't want to say these artists' names. I will, in fact, say who infected me, but I'm not going to talk about the other artists. Okay. Right? There were just specific artists performing on that day, and we had gone to see these artists because we loved them, and I wanted to be a dancer. And I wanted to be a dancer because I thought I could dance, but I think it was just that thing of wanting to belong, famous. You know, wanting to be famous. So I feel I could have done anything, you know, to be inverted commas famous. And then while we were at the club, Then there was this guy, Lebogang. He was busy staring at me and I was staring at him.
Who's
and I'm like to
Lebogang?
my friend.
Is he famous?
I was like, I'll tell you who he is.
Okay.
He's famous. Well, he's dead now. But
Lebogang.
he's famous.
No, tell us. Who's
Zombo?
Zombo.
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 With the ginger or blonde.
Yeah.
With the blonde.
Yeah, he's late now.
He's late, yeah.
You dated Zombo?
Let me tell you the story, Gogo.
Yeah, mama, okay. All right. So he's Lebogang. Oh, okay. Why
yes. So he was staring at me. I was staring at him. I'm like to my friend, I know that guy. Who's that guy? You know? And he's like, my friend's like, I'm like, oh my God, where has he been? Because there was a time where he kind of disappeared in the music scene.
Yes.
He was no longer as popular, you know? And I think that specific year, he had just released a new song or something like that.
Okay.
And then he came up to me. And in my head, honestly speaking, Zombo's not the type of guy I would date.
Okay.
I date pretty boys. That's just me.
Yeah.
And he's not a pretty boy. But in my head, I was like, this is my ticket to fame.
Okay.
You know, all I could see was Lebu pregnant
Headlights.
with Zombo's child. Tontoni. This is my mind. This is how far my mind was going.
Yes.
You know? And we exchanged numbers. And I think he called me the next day. And he asked to see me. And at the time, now, Besislala at Parktown. My mom got a flat in Parktown, but Jana, she was still staying in my kishini.
Okay.
Mina, I was staying alone in the flat.
How old were you?
I was 16, 17.
Did she trust you to stay alone at 16?
She didn't trust me, but she didn't have a choice. She had to.
Okay.
And there was no one else to stay with
look
me,
after you. Okay.
You know? And she would come see me on my Thursdays or just anytime she would just randomly pop in because she knew, I'm being stout. I'm not going to hide it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm being stout. Like I was very naughty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hide it. So she would have to constantly pop in to see if I'm not having a house party, I'm not having people over or whatever the case is. And then he asked to see me and I was like, no, cool, you can come to my house. I'm alone. And so I think we spoke on the phone for like 3 days. And then on this specific day, he's like, dude, I'm in Eastgate, but I'm on my way to go shoot a music video, but I really want to see you. I'm like, no, you can drive past. Like, you know, gave him directions. He drove past where's driving a white Golf. I won't forget.
Mm-hmm.
And he parked. We got inside, started talking. One thing led to another. And that was our first sexual encounter.
Inside the car?
No. He was inside the flat.
Oh.
Inside the house.
Okay.
Uyawangena inside.
Right.
And he left whoever he was with in the car. It was just, I'm popping in type of thing.
Okay.
You know, but one thing led to the other. And we had sex.
No
and
protection.
We had unprotected sex. I didn't care. The condoms were there. But I was like, hey,
yeah,
the chances are I could fall pregnant here. Also, I'm thinking, you know, when we see people on TV, we think they got money. We don't really know what's happening.
True.
So I had this mentality, Oguti, this is my ticket to a good life. This is my ticket to fame. This is my escape from whatever. It's not like Giti Besokola. No, we were not poor.
Okay.
My mom gave me everything I needed, but I had those wants, you know, and it was my ticket to whatever. So I really could have insisted, Guti dude, let's use a condom or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't happen, you know. But my relationship with him, it was not a romantic relationship. I think it was more of a sexual relationship because every time we saw each other, we were having sex. We didn't go on dates. There was
checky.
He would check on me, but he would check on me and slowly, you know. And I didn't love him. I would be lying.
Do you think he loved you?
I don't know. I don't think he did. And the reason I don't think he loved me because when he came clean, to say, it was an interview he did live on TV to say that he went around spreading the virus. that's when I then knew that he didn't love me. He was spreading the virus because he did say on the interview he did, I think it was on
Live Amp.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes, he was in a wheelchair. And washu ukuthi vele yena, he went around spreading it. And
are you saying he infected you?
He infected me knowingly so, and he knew about his status. He found out about his status in 2002.
Before you met him,
2007.
So before you met him, did you know your status? How sure are you?
Yes, I did. I'm very sure because the year before, when I was 16, I had my first child.
Oh, you had your first child when you were 16?
Yes, okay. So I fell pregnant. My first pregnancy, I was 16, and I did an HIV test.
Okay.
And it came out negative. And then, actually, I met Zombo the same year, 2006, later that year, around September.
Okay.
Yes. I met him later that year. He passed away 2007. But we were together 2006 all the way until Atlokofala.
But when we saw Zombo, beseka hectic.
He was. And that's the thing. That's why I could do anything to fill that void. I didn't care. Because you could see, number one, when growing up, Parabona Zombo go TV or wherever, he was a big person,
he was big.
You know? But that time when I was now interacting with him, he had lost a lot of weight. But I didn't care. I didn't ask questions. You know, and I remember there was a time while we were together, he was admitted esibhedlela he had TB or something. I didn't even care.
When did you say out in your test? Wait, I need to see. He said on the live about his status, right? Mm-hmm. I remember. He looked very bad.
He was ill.
He was sick. Very ill. Mm-hmm. So, did you see then that you might also be positive, or you already knew?
So this thing, HIV, I was very ignorant. I was like, Mina, HIV. I went to a white school.
Yeah.
I speak posh, proper English.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat, I believe I'm intelligent.
Yeah.
And so I always had this picture, HIV. And it just, when I looked at what I thought HIV was, it didn't fit into my lifestyle. You know, as much as I knew, esikoleni basifundisile HIV, but every time we were taught about HIV, it was for them being people abahlala emkhukhwini, people abahlala elalini,
so
people
that's what you thought.
That's what I associated HIV with, and I would like to believe a lot of us still do to date. You know
what I think, and please correct me, ne? Mm-hmm. Please correct me. I mean, I have this man said, "Guthi, HIV ya Zombo ile yakudala."
Azange teacher koko. No,
there's a difference.
Feel there's no difference.
Manje is soft.
No, it's not. No,
yeah,
it's not soft.
Leya Zombo ile ena stress yona, ina mapilisi amanengi. Iyalwa ine enga leya.
It's still the same thing. I think, remember back then, it's because there wasn't accessibility to treatment like now. Maybe that's why CT back then it was harsh, because abantu, it took time for them to get treatment. Unlike now, you test now, in 2 hours, you get ARVs tonight, you start drinking your ARVs. Back then, you would have to wait. Uguti ECD4 count jako ibe a certain level, then you start treatment. So right now, mau testa manje, at clinic manje, you're advised to start treatment, like tonight. Obviously, if you're emotionally ready and whatever the case is, but it's always advisable to start treatment as soon as possible, you know. But back then, you would have to wait. It wasn't like you get treatment. You would wait. What is it for count? I think it was below 350, if I'm incorrect.
Why is it now that we don't see such things? HIV activists, people talking about AIDS. It's not out there. I don't think I'm a 2000. I understand that. That's why ngithi leya kudala leya thina esikoleni sethu basimikisa kwenye isibhedlela bathi yini isiphephelo. Mama, bengisaba umfana omunye ubhuti ahlele empeteni impukani beyimhlelela
I think that's what we should do.
so lo
again.
bhuti impukani imhlelelana lo bhuti uhlele so yabo so akakhona ukususa le mpukani lokuyibheka so like he couldn't even yabo ekugcineni uthe yanginyanyisa manje yo
And I've been there.
you lie
I've been there.
you lie
I've been there. Unfortunately, Maskula, we never think to take pictures because one day maybe I'll be a speaker. But I've been there when I was bedridden for 6 months. and I was not this. Maufiga empeteni, like you would have to kind of look to see where's the human being here. You know, I was dark. My
why yenzana so
I was, well, Mina, I had defaulted, you know, so because it was hard for me to accept my status.
bonga post treatment
Defaulting,
bonga
oh,
pause
sorry, I
treatment.
stopped taking treatment, me.
so you did take it then you
So
stopped
because so I eventually went to go test in 2009. And nakhona ukutesta kwami, I was trying to prove a point to the person I was dating because there was rumors ukuthi phela lo muntu lona ujole nosbanibani and lo muntu lona phela is dead. So watch your back, you know. So people were warning this guy ukuthi Lebza phela did 1, 2, 3.
okay
You know. So okay, and I one day we were having sex, the condom burst, and he was like, hey, let's go get tested. You know, because I heard 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. And I was trying to prove a point to say, I'm not positive, you know. And Sahamba ngempela sayo test the 15th August 2009. The time was 1:30. We went to New Start, a Carlton Center. We went to go test. And the results came back. And the counselor was like, I've got bad news and good news. And in my head, I'm like, oh, brother, man, the bad news are definitely yours. This is still me knowing very well who I dated, knowing very well I had sex with him ample times without a condom, you know. But the way being ignorant ngakhona and the way I was just distancing myself from this virus, I was now thinking my partner is the one. Uktiwa the bad news, you know. And then the counselor was like, I put you and you know, you're HIV negative, sissy. You're HIV positive. I'm like, I know. I was like, Tassis Ayiko, I've heard that those aren't accurate. That time I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not an HIV activist. I know nothing about HIV. I just know what I was taught in school. Now I'm busy. I was like, what did I ask for? Oh, I was like, no, give out a blood test. You know? And this lady's like, dude, we did 2 tests. And possibilities are, you are really positive, but I'd advise that you go to a doctor or a clinic, whichever, of course, that you would want to go to and go for further tests. But this is it, you know? You're HIV positive. And I was like, whatever. I remember that same day, guy was, obviously he was scared because he's thinking maybe he got infected.
After the busting
Yeah,
of
but
a condom.
he was working at a laboratory, so he knew about the HIV, right? So Wahamba went to his doctor and bamnigeza PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, so that he doesn't get infected.
What does it do?
It prevents infection after exposure.
So uthi ngashaya namhlanje isikuni nomuntu positive ngiphuza PEP ngishaya futhi next week
No, but you wouldn't want to do that to yourself because it's an ARV and you drink it for 30 days. You go through hectic side effects. If you love yourself, really, you wouldn't want to take yourself through that. You would rather than if you feel that you are having sexual intercourse that exposes you to an HIV infection, you would rather get on PrEP.
Before or after?
Before. PrEP. So there's PrEP. Ne?
Oh, PrEP. It's a PrEP.
PrEP, we put that before exposure. And then PEP, it's after exposure, which is what they usually give to victims of sexual abuse.
Yeah, after rape.
After rape.
Okay.
Or if ujola nami and
find out after.
You know, we have sex and maybe the condom bursts, you can go.
So PrEP ngiphuza before intercourse.
Not like, not ukutu vugama namhla No, you need to drink it. I can't remember the exact days. I think it's 7 days or 14 days before.
Mangizozelaphi ukuthi uyolala nomuntu kumele ngiphuze.
No, but that's the thing. If we're now yourself, if we're not out at Tepe, and you know, maybe you are that girl who goes out and uyalalana nabafana and you don't know the people you're sleeping with, then you can just be taking PrEP.
Where do we get PrEP?
So you can get PrEP from clinics. You can get PrEP if you're in a medical aid, you go to your doctor, by prescription, you get it from the pharmacy. But if you don't have medical aid, you can go to a clinic.
So are you saying PrEP, it's a preparation for upcoming sexual intercourse that might infect me? Then PrEP, it is the pill that I drink after I have...
After exposure.
After exposure.
Yes. And I would really, really advise that people get on PrEP because abantu silala nabas baz ukuthi bayenzani.
PrEP yona ina side effects?
It does, but it's just for the first 7-10 days, depending on umzimba wakho nakhona.
What might be the side effects?
It's just your nausea.
Dizzy.
It's not hectic. Ukuthi manje soyagula asakwazi ukwenza lutho, no.
Okay.
It's not hectic.
It's like maybe your morning after.
It's like your morning after. It's not really hectic, but I would rather a person goes through 3 days of being uncomfortable than go through a lifetime of taking ARVs.
And then PrEP yona ama side effects?
It's the same, but they could also include your diarrhea, your maybe skin rashes, or whatever. But one thing about side effects, Gogo, right? And also why a lot of people basabuk tatama ARVs because they think of side effects. Not everybody experiences side effects. Personally, since I've started taking ARVs and I've been on different types of ARVs, I've only experienced maybe diarrhea for 1 day or maybe dizziness. So, like we are all different. Some people get side effect from grandpa. Some people get side effect from Panado. Some people don't, you know. So because your friend experiences hectic side effects, that does not mean it's going to be the same for you.
Please don't mind my questions.
Please ask anything.
Okay. Is it true ukuthi mawuphuza ama-ARV uqala ngokudringa nyana?
No.
Guys, so because like we've had stories with hallucinations. You have hallucinations. Futhi mangikhuluma ngesiLungu ayikho right. Like uyadlanya, uphupha inkomo emini. Omunye uze athi I'd rather drink ARV yami emini because mangiphuza ebusuku ngiphupha kabi inini nanani. I had an aunt.
But that happens only for a short space of time. It's a side effect, you know. But that was then to me. ARVs have advanced beautifully so.
Wait,
you know?
Okay. Yes, AIDS
Agna AIDS koko HIV.
Oh, mehluko.
HIV is the virus. I'm living with HIV. AIDS now. It's an acquired syndrome. It's very different. It's two different things.
High.
Yeah, we could say it's high.
Ufika njani ku-AIDS from HIV?
So now this is when, let's say default, like I defaulted, angithatha amapilisi, nyagula, I now get pneumonia, I now get TB, I now get other opportunistic diseases.
Yes.
Now that's when it's AIDS. You know, it's now progressed.
So when the day you defaultila zangu utholi AIDS?
I did.
Wabuyela back to HIV?
Yes.
Oh, uyabuyela? Hayi bafethu. Like kanjani?
Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, but with HIV is like...
Yeah. But when we talk about it, we don't say, when we talk about it, we don't say AIDS. It's very discriminatory. We say HIV. We don't say AIDS.
AIDS ikhona.
Onale HIV, awuna AIDS. Akhona AIDS koko. Medically so speaking.
There's no such thing as AIDS. AIDS ila so wonke ama diseases wazenzela.
Mara, I'm asking
You now
that.
have all these opportunistic disease to a point where TB sayaklasela, pneumonia sayaklasela. Ezing ama kidney what, ama liver what, inyawo, all these things sayaklasela. That's why you find uthola ukuthi umuntu ugula to a point akusana come back because it's too late because uhlaselwe yizonke lezi zinto lezi zinye.
Okay, now as a healer ne, I know gune bande. Yalazi band.
I've had that.
What do
twice.
we call it banding in English?
It's
ibande.
I've had that twice. Ibande, yes.
Ibande like la uvela khona mashashas and then around her. It's either ivela like qolo.
Yeah, mina ingvele twice.
Then izo round. Now gune bande vele ngilaziyo elesintu.
What's it called? Yeah.
Uthola ukuthi ushawa abaphansi or umlilo abaphansi. Then gune likhona ibande elikhoswa i-HIV.
I've had it personally.
Okay.
When did I have it? I had ibandi the first time I was pregnant with my daughter.
Okay.
Shingles.
Oh yes,
They
we call them shingles.
I had shingles, and then the second time
Mangesilungu likhona i-shingles le, i-shingles elikhoswa amadlozi lini ke lo. I-shingles nani.
Hey, lapho I can't answer. I don't know. Because both times when I had
you had it twice.
When I had shingles, both times when I had shingles, the first time I was pregnant. And you know when you're pregnant, you are limited to
certain medication.
What medication you take. So I did try go the route,
Please
and so forth.
Thank you.
And I think it didn't work. I can't remember. Then ngayesibhedlele bangihlaba whatever yaphela. Manje ngo 2020 I got it again.
What causes it?
I was defaulting. I'm a default. Okay, I've stopped. I'm a good girl now. I take my medication.
Why are you defaulting, Gangaga? Are you stopping your treatment or?
So with this bipolar mental illness, I'm a very suicidal person. So when I become suicidal, I kind of know when I stop taking my medication what it's going to lead to, right? Because I've been down that road before. So I would stop taking my treatment because I know that ngizogula and eventually it will lead to death. You know? So it's just
something you do deliberately.
My mental illness, you know.
Okay.
When I'm in a space of, so what happened in 2020, I got retrenched, right? So when I got retrenched, I lost everything.
Yeah.
I lost my place. I lost everything.
You lost yourself.
And I was that girl who would travel to the US twice a year. I was traveling across the country. I lived a good life. I lived a very, very good life. And when I lost my job, I lost everything. And you're right, I lost myself. And my job was my reason of living. And not because of the money or because of the traveling, because of what I was able to wake up every day and do, you know. So when I lost that, it took my sense of living. And I was like, fuck it. Sorry.
No, you're not limited.
Okay. I was like...
Is she limited not to say fuck?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, fuck it, you know. But at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Ish, my daughter, already she doesn't have a father, you know. So I had to...
step up.
Gather myself. But besego too late because now I got the shingles. But then I got back on my treatment. And I've been back on my treatment since then. I haven't defaulted.
You haven't defaulted. Okay. Now, there are these... I don't know what you call it. Inokuvela nje.
Mina angazi sengivele gogo ngizophendula kanjani.
Yini lezi zinto cause like sninini
these things that people get, I've never gotten those.
Yeah, do you think they happen from
those? I've never gotten those, but I've seen people who've gotten them.
I mean, I'll ask questions that people usually
I've personally never gotten them.
Yabo lento kuthi no America yakunikeza umkhaba.
Look, like I said,
how it treats you, it won't treat me.
I'm going to be honest and open. medication has side effects. Let's forget ARVs.
Or any medication.
Any medication, whether it's for cancer, whether it's for hypertension, whether it's for anemia, every medication has side effects, right? And yes, amapilisi wakdala, like I said, they were not as advanced as lawa amanje. You know, there were those side effects where you found people get sishwaba, or whatever the case is. That was then, you know, but that doesn't happen anymore. But then again, honestly speaking, I would rather have a big time in a shwaba and have life.
Oh, yes.
Than die, you know. Sometimes it's really choosing life over. You know what I'm saying? You know, you sometimes just need to choose yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and also I'll keep on saying this, and I say this to people who are always inboxing me, because she used to be like this, now she looks like this. We are not the same.
Because if you're not open about it.
For what? 14 years.
And in the middle of it, you were defaulting, but look at you.
Exactly.
I can't tell. If you don't speak about it, I couldn't tell.
You know what I'm saying? And we can't tell, Vele, and it's good. It's supposed to be like that. We're not supposed to be able to tell. How this, or whatever the case is, you know? We need to get to a point of choosing yourself and choosing your health and really choosing life. Because everything has a side effect, guys.
So like, what happens that I'm a guy and I have sexual intercourse with you. I don't use PrEP. I don't use PEP. I've never taken anything, but I'm your partner and we're constantly making love and we don't use protection. But I test, I'm negative. 2 years later, I'm still negative. Like, you didn't infect me. What's the cause of that? Is it because of CD4 counts or what? What happens?
No. So, like, when you take your treatment, like the doctor says you must take it, you become what we call undetectable. Meaning the virus now is not detected. My fluids your blood, your semen, whatever fluid that can transmit the virus, your breast milk, you know.
Oh, you can breastfeed if you're HIV positive.
Yes, you can, but if you choose to breastfeed, then you strictly breastfeed for 6 months. Manzi, or maybe you strictly breastfeed.
Okay.
If you choose that.
All right.
You know, so when you are undetectable, you cannot pass the virus on to your partner. You can't be transmitted, like you can't transmit
What makes you undetectable? It's you drinking your meds.
Because mawuphuza amapilisi, right? So mawuphuza amapilisi, let's say this is the HIV.
Yeah.
This juice. I'm glad I said that because people probably thought it's wine.
No, it's juice.
I'm redeeming myself right now. So this is the HIV, right? Uphuza amapilisi. So I need to HIV, what it does, when it gets into your blood, it goes to your CD4 count, it destroys it and creates another copy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We call that a viral load, the amount of virus in your blood.
Okay.
So mawuphuza amapilisi, it stops that cycle from happening. It stops the cycle of the virus attaching to the CD4 count and creating another virus. It stops it and it kind of puts it in the glass and locks it. It cannot recreate other copies. Now, it cannot be in your blood because it's locked away somewhere. Let's say it's locked away somewhere there.
Yeah.
You know? So it can't.
So that's why it's possible for someone who's HIV positive to sleep with someone who's negative, as long as
and
you
have a child.
Or positive is not. When you are positive, you are drinking your pills. Now, you can't infect me because now you are drinking your pills
I'm
and
undetectable.
You're undetectable. So that's what
I'm
undetectable means. It means
the virus has been suppressed in my
from taking your meds.
In my fluids, in my blood. That's why it's advisable, you know, to take your treatment and stay on your treatment.
You know, I always had that question that how do you produce a seed that is not infected. Meaning,
Exactly.
how do you have kids?
No, because you don't share blood in umtanako. Umtanako creates their own blood when they are in your body.
My DNA test.
No. I'm just saying. I think we've got this notion, uguti, the blood that I have goes into the fetus.
Yeah, that's what we know.
Yes, it does, but umtana creates
Their
their
own.
own blood, right? But besides that, this thing of being undetectable is what is also able to help me have sex with my partner who's negative and we have a child. Because it's not like we have sex, bese uphuza before PrEP, because PrEP into age.
In danger.
It's not like back then, before PrEP, it's not like we have sex, bese kusasa uphuza iPrEP. Bese udokotela athi have sex Monday, Tuesday. No. It's because when I'm virally suppressed, I cannot transmit. You know, my ex-fiance and my other ex-boyfriend, we never used condoms and they never got infected.
They were not scared? Or you did educate them
It was
them
a choice. I give you a choice when we date, you know, and I also give you the chance to go and make a research. Because Minavella, obviously, I'm informed, you know, but instead of me feeding you with what I know, I would rather now where you go and when's research, and then you will decide for yourself if you want to take the route of not using a condom. But then remember, I also need to know if you are. If you are HIV.
So that you know if they taking their meds
for
as
real.
well. Yeah.
Because there's also this notion, people living with HIV never really ask the other person about their status. As long as born, about disclosure, they feel everything is okay. They never really care about the next person.
That's true.
But we need to also know our partner's statuses. And also, gunama STIs, we also need to always be checking those things. It's not only the HIV, you know what I'm saying? So I give my partners that freedom to say, this is the information I have, and it's really up to you.
So Lebo, after producing this seed, ogumba umntwana, is there meds that the kid takes after?
Yes, so umtana will take an nevarapin for like
Why
6 months.
do they take this if the kid is born without it?
It's just because infection doesn't happen while the child is in the womb, right? Infection could happen while you're delivering.
Oh,
remember, there's a lot of blood.
Oh, yeah.
Umntana usase sensitive or
Okay.
soft and whatever.
Makes
Infection
sense.
could also happen when you're breastfeeding, right? And that is when maybe when amapilisi awathathi kahle as umother, and maybe you decide ukuthi uzobreastfeeder. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that precaution for that 6 months to say umntwana aphuze the nevarapin, just so should anything happen in that 6 months.
Oh,
then
it's
we know
called
that
the what? What's the name of the pill for the?
Nevarapin.
Okay.
Just that umntwana abe safe, you know, it's a precaution. Because infection, like I said, happens during delivery and when you're breastfeeding, not while the baby is in your uterus.
Have you infected anybody?
Not that I know of, no. Nobody has ever came to me to say, Lebo.
When did you start opening up about your status on social media platform?
My first public was 2012.
And how did your family
1st of
take it?
December 2012. You know, when we told my mom that I'm HIV positive, I think she was kind of waiting for me to come home with those news because being busy. Like, I'm not going to lie.
So
I was
when
busy. I was busy, and I'm saying this because Ankara will always associate being promiscuous with HIV, right? So it wasn't kind of like a shocker, you know? And my mom was like, dude, I'm a pilisa corner, you know? And my mom has always accepted me. Irregardless of how much I've fucked up and messed up in life,
But
she has
she's
always
always
accepted me. Look, I fell pregnant at 16.
Yeah.
I fell pregnant 3 times after that
Yeah?
and aborted the babies. My mom has never.
You have 3 kids.
No, I don't. I
You have
aborted.
1 kid.
I've got
You
one
are-
child.
You aborted the
I
2.
aborted.
Okay, how many months did you abort?
So the first one, I think it was 7 months. Yeah. It was 7 months. It was like, that was giving birth. It wasn't even like really having
What did you do it? Because I think it's illegal.
Backstreet, illegally. I did it illegally.
Oh, you didn't go straight to a professional clinic?
No. I did it illegally.
So you aborted. Where did you abort in 7 months?
Somewhere there at Robeni. There's a
Kulama
sister.
Niger.
It doesn't even run by Nigerians. It's run by South Africans. Sister what? Yes, Sister what? Somewhere there.
Is it the ones that are handing out
there.
the papers?
I didn't find it like that. I found it on a newspaper. So I went through a newspaper, found it, my phone, and then they said they want, I said 2,000 or 2 point, I can't remember because this is years back. And I gathered that money, wherever I gathered it, then ngahamba, and you sleep over there like a day. So my family didn't know. But then I had to call my mom because now there were complications and I needed family. And I had to call my mom to say, yeah.
She didn't know you were pregnant?
Again. No, they didn't know. I had hid it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a big girl. So,
oh,
anything. At 7 months,
baby daddy
I literally
guy.
looked like this.
Where's baby daddy?
He was there.
Did you tell him?
Bekapiga.
Oh,
Infect. Oh, sorry. Let me not
Zombo?
be like that. It was him.
No Zombo.
Bekapiga. I called him and told him I'm pregnant, and he's like, nope, it's not my child. I was like, nigga, I'm sleeping with you. He's like, it's not my child. And mind you, this is my 2nd pregnancy. I had just fallen pregnant at 16 years.
Yes.
The year.
You dated Zombo unangaki? I think it is.
So if I gave birth to Komut at 16, I made Zombo at 16, 17.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you had the abortion and then what complications did you face? Umntana uphumile? Aphila mos cause 7 months ago.
No, beyaphila. So mabachaza these ladies. Angithi bakunika ipiliso yalifaka la under the tongue elinye balihlohla up there in your vagina, and then you wait to uphathwe whatever bese bayacleana bayakhipha. So mine took forever. It was not happening, you know.
But were you having pains?
I was having pains, but there was no blood. There was nothing was coming out. But mabayenza the scan, the fetus was
not breathing.
Was not thinking, you know. So they were like, hey, dude, you're going to have to call your family. And I was like, I'm doing this without them knowing. But I had to call my mom to say, yeah, Giko Blacking is also, and kids are also. And my mama, she came. As much as she was angry, but,
she
at that time, anger, you know, it came afterwards to say, but how could you, you know? And I didn't listen. I fell pregnant 2 times after that. And I aborted the babies.
Who was the daddy now?
It was my Jollof.
Oh, Nigerian. So you abort. Now the second time when you abort, it was after how long?
So I fell pregnant 16, 17, 18, 19.
Aleb.
Hey, I guess we mark.
16, 17, 18, 19.
And
every
20.
year. 5 times?
5 times.
1 kid survived?
Only 1 kid survived.
All of these were abortions or miscarriages in the
So, the first one at 16, it didn't happen. And then I gave birth to a premature son, Khomoto. He survived. The plan was not to get emotional. He survived 3 months. Then he passed away.
Do you ever blame yourself for that?
I think now that I'm older, right? At the time, it was Marashona, honestly speaking, I didn't really mourn my son.
Okay.
It was, I can go back to school.
Oh, all right.
You know, but now that I'm older, I'm 34, because all of these unsafe abortions led to me losing my uterus. I can't have kids anymore. that I blame myself for, because I did that to myself. Nobody did it. And I think it's part of the reason why I tell my story, because not a lot of us live to tell these stories. A lot of us are either dead or hooked to drugs and have given up on life because of the decisions we made. So now that I'm 34, I want to settle down. Now, when I date, I need to I can't date umuntu onganamntwana because I don't want to rob anybody the opportunity of being a father, And I don't want to take someone through a process of surrogacy because I do have ovaries. I can still take out an egg, but I now need to kind of be like, okay, I can only fall for someone who's got a child or who has kids. Umuntu ongeke angihluphe years down to saying ngifuna umntwana. You understand what I'm saying?
So the first baby you tried, but you failed, and then you got a premature, and then they passed on.
He passed on.
The second one?
The second one is the 7 months, the abortion that I did.
Okay.
Through Beni. And then the 2, those I did like under the first trimester.
So it's safer.
Those were still kind of, the one was in a government facility. Because also, as much as abortion in our country is legal, it's not an easy thing to get. Legally. Because also your clinic, let's say you're 2 months pregnant, or your clinic or whatever facility bazokutshela ukuthi buya ngedata so then mawubheka mhlawumbe uzobe so
over.
Understand?
Then they can't do it anymore.
And also because of the kind of treatment you get at the facilities, it's that's why a lot of young women go backdoor. Because nobody is judging you, nobody's asking you questions. All they care about imali, and what you care about is getting rid. And unfortunately, that's not the safest way to go. I lost my uterus, and there's no other explanation.
Yeah.
Because even when I was pregnant, benyenza ama checkups esibhedlela because my uterus was a bit open throughout the pregnancy. That just shows you ukuthi ngihlukumezile. And also because I fell pregnant at a very young age. Umzimba wami bowungekho fully developed to go through everything I took it through. You understand? And I think those are things that we don't talk about, I see how we've normalized teen pregnancy to a point where we have shows that tell stories of teen pregnancies. I'm still trying to figure out what the motive or the moral behind that is. I don't get it because I feel like we're normalizing it and it's bullshit. We need to get to a point where enough is enough.
Yes.
We can't be normalizing a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old becoming a mother of 2 of 3.
But when you speak, don't you think they will say,
They say that.
16
You had your time. It's katse too. They say that.
Yeah.
They say that. Yes, it's katsako.
But you learned.
I learned and I have regrets.
And you not want to see somebody else going through the same thing.
I don't. Kubuhlungu. Guys, when you sit down and you think back, as much as popping the bottles, dating whatever, doing whatever, but all of that is gone now and you're faced with reality.
Oh, yeah.
Khona manje, busy up and down dialysis 3 times a week, just because of a decision I made, Uguti, I'm breaking my virginity at 13. Because the reason I'm saying this, I'm going to connect the dots.
Fine.
Break virginity, get infected with HIV, now I've got kidney failure. All of that is connected.
True.
Do you know what I'm saying? So sometimes when we make decisions, we don't think, obviously, of the bigger picture and what you could face yourself with. Dating the sugar daddies, trust me, I've been there. popping the bottles in Santon, going to your taboo, your hash. I don't know if it still exists, but I've been there. Being in Lamborghinis, I've been there. It's very nice. Going to Durban July, living the life, it's very nice. But last year, I had to raise money for my treatment. All of those guys were not there. Guys who used to give me 10 grand, 5K, or whatever the case is. Because I'm no use to them right now. There's another level.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
There'll always be another level. I'm in the fire by myself. The girls I was popping up with, getting VIP for, taking one for the team, they are nowhere to be found. Abeko. Mausema simbeni, usuka uyi-one. And I think that's what young girls don't realize. Humanati right now. And I'm not gonna lie, it is nice.
When you're enjoying it.
Humanati to dress up, turn up, go to VIP, get picked up, get that 10K, sleep in Michelangelo, Da Vinci, whatever. We've done all of that. We've been there. But when you don't think about your future and you don't invest in yourself, yes, beauty might not fade, but your time will end.
Exactly.
I'm still beautiful. I'm still beautiful. I'm still beautiful. Mara samskhathi siphelile. Manya lapha esenteni lab esithola khona ama-sugar daddy mina basangibheki. Sebabheka laba. Mara mina, there was a time when I was the hot thing. Understand? What I'm trying to say is uyaphupha. Even though the physical beauty will not. Mara sakhosikhathi. I remember there was this guy that I was dating who, well, I wasn't dating, I was sleeping with, we're having a transactional relationship. So one day he was like, yes, I wouldn't marry a girl like you. And I'm like, what? He's like, Lebo, let's have a conversation. Let's khulume, you know? So yes, you're beautiful. You got the curves. Okay, at the time, I was slender nyana, you know, I was slender with the ass and stuff. It's just like, but I wouldn't marry somebody like you. You don't have a vision. You don't have goals. I've never heard you ukhuluma ngefuture yakho. Angaze ngikubuze nokuthi what you want. At the time, I think I was in matric or I just finished matric. I can't remember. No, because I was a call center. No, I was working at a call center.
Yeah.
I was done with school. Ati, I don't have a future. You don't have a future. Is this the kind of life you want to live? Because there'll be another you tomorrow.
Oh. And abafana laba bona noma bangaphupha kangakanani but imali yabo isesekhona so they can get what they want.
Imali yakhe phupha. I'm sure the sugar daddies I had back then have sugar babes or bababizan these days. Blesses.
Ma blessa manje. Kusasa ma blessa namanje.
Yeah, they still blesses now. Mina ngiyenze ngizoba iblessi kabani. But I'm glad because I was able to. That guy was my turning point. And can I tell you a beautiful story about this? So when he told me this thing, Yoguti, you don't have a future, and don't whatever, that's the last day he saw me. And we stopped seeing each other. And fast forward a couple of years later, I'm now an HIV activist. I was going to a meeting. I won't say the organization, but it's a very well-known international organization. I was going for a meeting. Ngithe mangena, go office room. Guess who was there?
Oui.
The same sugar daddy who said I don't have a future. I was like, God. I felt good.
Yeah.
Because now, as much as yes, I didn't have a degree, but I was now an activist. I was an advocate. And I made sure for that meeting. No, I made sure. Wuti, no, I am going to take out the English. Nzokhuluma. And he came afterwards and he's like, he even asked, are you Lebogang Motsumi? I'm like, yes, I am.
I remember you.
And he's like, it's so good to see you. I'm like, it's good to see you too. Manje nasakafuna and I was like, nah, ngisekho lapho.
Yeah.
I had to, as much as it was difficult, I'm not going to lie. To leave that lifestyle, it was difficult because I made a call now and said, I need 2K. And I would get it now, you know. But when I started being an activist and I started sharing my story, it didn't make sense for me to stand, because I used to go to schools and do talks. It didn't make sense for me to be telling these kids. And what I did was, when I decided to change my life, whatever that a man bought me, I gave it away. When I weave, when I shoes, when I clothes, bags, I gave everything away because I wanted nothing that connected me with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm glad I did that. I'm also glad that I never used that money to go to school, or I never used that money to get a license, because I want nothing that connects me to that lifestyle.
That constantly reminds you of that phase.
Constantly, because if to me I had a degree, or if I had a degree,
it's fine. Don't worry.
Or being a license, or imoto, every day when I look at that piece of paper, every day when I get into that car, it's going to remind me of how I was getting fucked by an old man who was as old as being my father. You understand? It was going to take me back there.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I wanted nothing that connected me. And I'm glad I did that.
Makes sense.
It was hard. It was hard. Because there were times when, namanje, in 2021, when I was going through the hard times, I was like, Maramos, I still have numbers of these people.
Why can't I
call them
just...
up and just...
But
you make a decision. Enough is enough.
So, Leb, have you dated this... I'm a superstar. I'm an artist. I'm a watch.
I have. I'm not going to name names, guys. These people are married, and I'm not one to ruin people's lives, you know. But I have. I've dated celebrities. Some, when I turn on the TV, I'm like, oh, ma.
Wait now.
You know, yeah. I was that girl. I had in my time.
Yo, you had in your time.
I had in my time, but I honestly wouldn't change anything, because as much as I made horrible decisions, as much as I was called names, I was called isfebe, rubbish. I was called a lot of names. That I've never been called, you know. And as much as I made all those decisions, as much as I went through everything that I went through, Coco, I was that girl who would go to a club with a 50 rand and leave drunk, you know, or leave with a man next to me. I was that girl. But all of that built me to be the woman that I am. As much as...
Are you saying... Sorry to interrupt you there. Are you saying if you did not live the life that you lived then, you are not going to be who you are now?
I don't think I would be as strong as I am. I don't think I would be as strong-willed. I don't think I would have the morals that I have today.
So what if there's other girls that are going through the same thing that you went through
I want to say that.
And they come back and say, Lina, I want a backbone to be strong in 10 years to come. So let me live this life so that I can come back and tell the world, hey, ha.
Not everybody's story ends the same.
Oh, yeah.
There are those, and today they're hobos. They nyaupa girls, you know. They have given up on life. That's why I'm saying not everybody lives to tell the story.
The story.
It's only a few of us.
You know
what I'm saying? And so when I tell my story, it's from three perspectives or point of views. It's for education, it's for hope, and for inspiration. Education, the girls who are living the life that I'm living. Look, I will not instill the morals I have right now on anybody and say, yeah, or change your life.
You just share what you know.
I am saying, look, it's fine, do it, but don't forget to plan for your future. You know, go to school. plan for a future yakho.
Do something.
Do something ka bophelo ba hao. And if you are obviously sexually active, hambi clinic, prevent.
Are you still sexual active?
Very much so.
Do you have a
Go to the
partner now?
clinic. I don't want to talk about that. I
But
don't
are
know
you
if I'm
in
in a
a-
relationship. It's complicated. Angaz. If you asked me this a month ago, I would gladly say I'm in a relationship. But right now, honestly, I don't know if I'm in a relationship.
I saw you
or
label
not.
being in a relationship. There was a show on Moja Love called
on
House.
BET
No.
when I was crying.
No, there was a show on Moja Love called Love House or House Love or Housemates.
No,
something.
no. It's BET. Fix My Love.
No, I'm saying I saw you
On Moja
dating.
Love, hey, I've
No,
never.
not that I saw you on Moja Love. You dated a
A
guy
guy who was on a show.
who was on a
Moja-
show on Moja
Really?
Love.
You want to go there? See, let's go. Continue. Yeah. See,
I
we're
saw
going
you
there.
dated that guy. That guy.
Oh God.
That guy was what was that show?
When couples were fixing their relationship,
Yes.
like that.
And that guy on that show, he was abusive.
Yeah.
He was, what's his name, Konje?
We're not gonna say his
Okay.
name. He doesn't deserve the publicity.
Okay, but he was abusive. He was a criminal, or
So,
sorry,
yeah,
was he a criminal?
let's-
Oh, abutika
Let's talk about that. You know, he's an ex.
Oh, he's an ex-criminal. Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
But you
story.
dated
I
the
know a lot
guy.
of people.
You went public about it, and people kept on telling you, Lebu, stop, be careful. What? That guy might
How?
do this to you.
Coco, wait. So you don't reply to my inboxes, but you see what I'm doing.
I
My
saw.
timeline.
Let me tell you, I saw because I myself wanted to say something. But
So
Mina,
let me
it's
be
not
honest.
easy for
No,
me
let
to
me
advise
talk.
people on a public platform.
No, let me talk about this relationship. And yeah, let me talk about it. And
Were you
thanks
not
for bringing it up.
scared?
So, and I was about to say his name. So
Let's say Tabis.
Number one, I don't watch Moja Love, right? I used to watch it back then, but I honestly don't like whatever content they have right now. And I've been
Okay.
very open about it
Okay.
I don't even do interviews with them anymore.
So you didn't watch my show.
No, I watched it on social media. I didn't need to watch it on TV.
How was
Say,
it?
I go Twitter, I loved it. Mara mna- my questions are names.
It's not
No,
about
I
me.
loved it. No, I loved it. It's just, look, let me be honest.
No,
I-
answer. Okay.
Okay, fine. So, okay, I saw his interview on Agenda Network, right? And I wanted to do an interview with him because there's a podcast I want to do, or that I'm working on. It's called
Okay.
The Man Behind the Crime,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, I think I've been to prisons. I've interacted with prisoners.
Yeah.
And I've always believed there's a man behind the crime. And I've always wanted to sit down with whether ex-convicts or people that are serving time,
Okay.
just to find out who is this person behind whatever crime it is that you committed. And one thing led to the other.
Oh.
And we ended up dating.
Okay.
And honestly speaking, and this is not me trying to until I dated him. And he told me about it. Ngazama ukuyithola to, because I don't have catch up endlini, so I was not able maybe to go on catch up or whatever. That show, I didn't know it. I've never watched it. And honestly speaking, what attracted me to this guy was the passion he had for community, for young people.
Yeah, I see him.
For-
He's
for awareness of drug abuse. He was passionate about that. He wanted to have an organization. That attracted me to him because that's what
You
I'm passionate
are.
about as well. You know,
True.
while I was with him, I never experienced any abuse. Yes, there were red flags of cheating and other things, but I've never experienced abuse personally.
Oh.
But there were moments where I was like, this could have turned,
Ugly.
you know, ugly or whatever.
Oh.
And I think after I was then able to finally watch the show, listen, I was like, shit, what did I get myself into?
So when people warned you about it, like, were you not scared?
No, I wasn't. I've dated thugs before. I've dated hardcore criminals. gangsters, people who would put you in boots, bahambe bayogezisa emfuleni ngesunlight ukuthi keep up febe. I was that girl. So I was never scared. I was that girl. So I was never scared. I was like,
So bakumikisa emfuleni bathi gezi ukufebe ngesunlight le green.
Dude. Oh God.
So musa benye kumsaba guy.
No, and he never came across
as that person.
As that person.
I don't know him.
The only red flags were the cheating. And yes, he had a short temper and whatever the case is.
Yes, that's what people complained about.
He had a very short temper, but akagaze. And I'm not, if Begang Shail or whatever, I would have said it, but he's never.
So you broke up.
Bezo Pela Vele, he's Muslim, I'm Christian, it was never going to work.
You pay after how long? Tata months, Lena, and
Bezo Pela Vele because spiritually besingekho aligned.
So besanga shashatan because he was married.
They Gok.
Okay, see ye.
Hey Gok.
Sipege yakho but nina nahlukana ke.
Hey Gok. Buning lapha.
Yeah, nahlukana nina.
No, we broke up. Messy break up, but we broke up.
Let's talk about your book quickly before I close it. You wrote a book.
Yes, I wrote a book. I'm still here from my deathbed to the world. And that book basically takes the reader through everything that I've been through, you know. And like I said, the book is to educate, it's to inspire, and it's to revive hope. I know there are ladies and women out there who have made bad choices, you know. Maybe unabantwana by 3, unabantwana by 4, awuqedanga isikolo, mhlawumbe une-matric kuphela or une-grade 10 or whatever the situation might be, and you've given up on life. You know what I'm saying? This is me saying you can always pick yourself up and rebuild. After everything I've done, Gogo, I rebuilt my life.
True.
I'm
very
an
much
international
inspired.
speaker. I've traveled. I've spoken as far as the United Nations headquarters. You know, I have been in spaces where I never thought I would be in because I took the choice ukuthi I'm going to relive and rebuild my life. As much as manje ngiyengagula, ngaba ne-kidney failure, ngakwazi ukuthi ngisebenze futhi and lost everything, but I'm also again rebuilding my life. You know, and that book is just to say, irregardless of the choices you've made, you can still rebuild your life. You can still start from scratch with those 4 kids, with that grade 10, with that matric, with whatever bad choice you've made, you know. And I know there are some who have been sexually abused. I've been sexually abused, you know, and one was by a policeman who had just saved me from being gang raped.
Did they gang rape you or he saved you before they gang raped?
So they were trying to gang rape me. The only thing they did is they stabbed me on my head and on my finger. Yenaweza, he rescued me. Wangise kliniki, and then I couldn't go back home. And then he was like, no, you'll spend the night at my place.
Why couldn't you go back home?
So I was at my friend's house. Sabaleke ebusuku saphuma ngefastere sayogroova. And then all of this happened. So there was no way I was going to go knock. Okay. 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I think it was 3, 4 a.m.
Okay.
And my house was like at another section.
Umgani
yena ubalekile wabuyela emuva endlini.
Okay.
You know.
I get you.
And because he's a policeman, I trusted him. You know, I didn't think he would then start touching me and want to sleep with me, you know what I'm saying? And so like I was saying, in that book, I talk about that we tend to go through a lot of things and they end up identifying who we are, you know, and we end up walking around with the identity of I was raped, the identity of I've had abortions, identity of I'm living with HIV, identity of whatever it is. And in that book, I'm just trying to say it doesn't have to be like that. You know, you are not what happened to you.
Your past doesn't define who you are.
It doesn't. And that is my famous saying. Yeah. You are not your past. You're not defined by your past. And people will always talk about you, whether you do good or bad. That's why mina anginandaba. I know for a fact, mina ngithukiwe on Twitter. I've been dragged. I've been called names. I don't care.
So where do people get your book?
So right now, I'm going to relaunch my book and it's going to be in stores.
Okay.
So they can follow me on social media. I'm still working on relaunching it and putting it in stores because selling it individually, it's a lot of admin.
Yeah.
And I end up not reaching everyone. You know, I end up, because there's filtered messages in Tontoni and I don't see all these things. And people end up not getting the book. So I am
What's your
working
Facebook
on,
handle?
Lebogang Brenda Motsumi.
Instagram?
At Motsumi Lebo.
And on Twitter?
At Motsumi Lebo.
So if they want to know more about the book and all that, or what are your steps from relaunching the book, they can follow you on those social
so
media
they can just
platforms.
go on Google and write Lebogang Brenda Motsumi.
Okay,
I'm on Google.
So they can find you there.
No, they can find me there, whether it's for the book, whether it's for counseling, because I also counsel people.
Oh my God, that's nice.
And soon I'll be a certified life coach. So for that as well, whether it's for bookings, because I am a professional speaker. And guys, I charge, and I'm not going to charge 2,000. I charge. I'm a professional speaker. I trained to speak. I just don't stand there and tell you a stop story.
Yeah.
I trained. I prepare PowerPoint presentations.
Exactly.
I do my research. I give a proper package, you know, because there are people who'll be like, no, 2,000. No, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm broke. Yes, I'm sebenzi. But my
not for your work.
my brand is very important and I don't compromise with my brand and umsebenzi wami. But schools, obviously, I'll do for free because it's a school. But anything else,
you don't.
Let's respect brands because people don't, especially when it's HIV, they feel it should be for free. It's charity.
Oh,
no,
you don't. Okay, quick one before we close. I heard you. I think we didn't get into it. Speaking about a policeman that rescued you. Please speak more about that.
Okay, so what happened was, so during my whole journey, ngihlala in Nelspruit.
Okay.
And
Kabani Nelspruit.
Nelspruit, that's Cabo Mama.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Cabo Mama. So I'm half Swati, and I
Okay.
to kuma Swati fluently. So ngihlala in Nelspruit, and then
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and you make friends. So I then went Varashala, one of my friends, Sabalege Busuku. So I attended 21st and Masbalega Njalo. It was literally just the next street. It wasn't far. When it's time to go home, there's one of our guy friends, we has Kappa. So there were these guys. You guys go to Mavashenda every time, there'll always be people about Krupai. So these guys would always make advances, and I would always give a roche or whatever the case is. So these guys was like, today, there was, I think, 9 of them, but it's Okshay Bandi, meaning they were gonna gang rape me. So when we were walking, they approached us right by the corner, Beza Bonke. They grabbed me. This guy friend also tried, but these guys were also like these notorious guys.
Oh,
So, you know, as much as this guy was trying to pull me, they were pulling me. It became ugly, and people even got out their houses, but bebakuza from inside. No one actually came to come. So amongst all of that, I got stabbed with a bottle on my head and on my finger here, I've got a scar. So this policeman, bekabi emsebenzini, wabona commotion, wayenza ama lights emoto, waphuma wayenza ama warning shots.
Okay.
To disperse the crowd. Obviously they ran away. I was bleeding because I was stabbed, and yes, when you get stabbed on the head, blood is a lot. I was bleeding. And he then took me to the clinic Bafika, Bayenza. They didn't stitch me, they just cleaned it. They said it didn't need a stitch. I think Bangnema painkillers. nalana bavele bangicleaner. They said I don't need stitches. They stopped the bleeding. Oh no, they covered it. Yes, they covered it. Stopped the bleeding, obviously. And then I explained, which I'm visiting my friend. This is what happened. And he was like, no, you can come to my house for the night. And then ekuseni, as iphoyisa, ngizokuhambisa, explain the situation which kwenzakaleni. Obviously, I need to go get my clothes and go back home because being varashida, that was not home. And I was like,
cool, why not?
You know, so masifika iskipa sam bengigqoke iskipa esimhlophe, bengigqoke ijini eblue, nama Nike white khakis. Everything was full of blood. So wathi, let me just wash impahla zakho. I'll give you iskipa ne short, cause ngicwele igazi, you know, and then uzolala. And I did that. Oh, he gave me water to bathe, but I was not bathing in front of him at the time. And obviously, you know, because now the trauma is starting to. Then he came into bed, and while I was trying to, I don't want to cry.
No, don't worry, don't cry.
While I was trying to sleep, you know that. You know, he started touching me, but I froze, Gogone. And in my head, I was like, I guess I have to pay him
for saving
me. So I'll just let him do whatever. And I froze and I let him do whatever. And he did whatever and enjoyed himself. Wasula, whatever. And in the morning, he took me back to my friend's house. And that was the last time I saw him.
So you didn't even report?
No, I didn't report it. Unfortunately, both my sexual abuses or rapes, I never reported. And, you know, the first one, for me, it was, I'm paying back. I didn't want to do it, and it wasn't consensual. The second one, it was a guy, bekade angishela. You know, during that time, I'm now changing impilo yami. You know, I found a boyfriend. So one thing I was struggling with at the time, because she couldn't do stuff for me, you know. So this guy was a designer, and he was like, let's go to my studio. Ngizogenza bejara, ngikholeletse some dresses and skirts, you know. And we were basically jolly, but we were like seeing each other. It was that thing you would see, we're building a relationship, you know, and I genuinely liked him, but I was not ready. And while he was taking the measurements, it was a Sunday, I won't forget, taking the measurements, whatever, and we started kissing fine. The kissing, okay, I kissed him back, but now he started and I was like, I don't want to do this, you know? And then he just held me down and he just, you know, opened and did what he did and wiped himself and he drove me back home and dropped me off. And I remember texting him, I'm like, dude, you raped me, you know? And he was like, what were you expecting? Why were you wearing that tight? Because being like a tight skirt, high waist, twinner thing. And one thing about these experiences, I was blaming myself. Ngithi nami, you know,
maybe you attract such,
you know, so there was, at the time, I never thought, let me go open a case. Only when I became an activist, I was like, the anger only then
came
but
back.
at the time, it was like, no, but Nami, I deserved it. Being Funani at his studio with him alone on the Sunday, with the cop, I was paying him back and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, I never got to report the incidents, and I wish I could have, and I always advise girls, Uguti, regardless of how hard it is, report that rape case.
True.
And we have a beautiful justice system, as much as it lacks here and there. But yona iyasebenza la isebenza khona, And I always advise rape victims to open cases, because it's not a nice thing to go through, and it's part of the things that builds to having depressions, to being suicidal, to feeling not good enough, to feeling dirty. I know there are some people who get sexually abused, because they feel this is what they built for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You get to that point.
So, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Your story is beautiful, and you are an inspiration. It will be up to the next person whether they will want to live the same life as you and keep on saying, "Nami ngifuna ukufunda kweyami indlela." I believe as a person, at times you never learn from your own mistakes. But if there are people like you, we have to learn. And I've learned a lot, especially when it comes to HIV and AIDS. And I had a very different mindset. I thought AIDS, but now you explained it and explained the diseases, the other chronic illnesses that we must be concerned about, that even more chronic than being HIV positive. Because I think there's still people who are like me before I met you now, who had a different mindset when it comes to HIV and AIDS. I'm very glad that you came and you had to explain it to me. You are very brave, you're strong, and I wish you nothing but the best in everything that you want to do. And whatever that you couldn't have 20 years back and you wanted it from other people, now it's your time to have it in your own way.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so thank you for honoring the invite.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be in your presence.
Thank you. I'm sure I'm not the only one that learned. This is very informative to most of my viewers. I know they're going to love this, and I know they're going to learn from it. Also checking from the trends that are there now. Oguti, a girl would rather date a sugar daddy, would rather have money, I think
because we are normalizing such lifestyles.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, what pisses me off the most is big brands will even work with these girls who are normalizing a lifestyle of living life, of depending on indoda. But you will see people who have authentic content and who are telling authentic stories, but brands won't associate themselves with those people, even though they've got a following. But they'll go and associate nentombazani who will openly say, look, impilo yakho, live it, But I just don't like how we're normalizing and condoning that this is the fashionable lifestyle. Because every 2K child that you talk to, look to, listen to, they don't aspire to be an entrepreneur. They don't aspire to go to school and get a degree, be a doctor, be a lawyer or whatever. They don't aspire to build their own lives. They aspire to date a man who has money.
Amavuso, left, right, and
we've got the indoda must mentality. We don't have the I must woman mentality.
Sinabo forever yena.
And that's what kind of it pisses me off, and especially my daughter's 13. She's going to high school next year.
Does your daughter see all these interviews?
Yes, I take her to my talks.
Oh, that's
she
sweet.
calls me when she writes me letters. She calls me Babes with HIV. She'll even say when I introduce myself, "Ma, you forgot Babes with HIV."
Oh.
She knows, and I'm very open, about, because I honestly, Coco, I don't want any young woman to go through what I've been through. I don't want any woman to sit and feel useless. Let me tell you one thing about dating rich men. Yes, kumnandi must post. Those men treat you like shit. They treat you like shit. As nice as that 20K, 50K, 70K, the Dubai trips, whatever it is, those men treat you inhuman. They don't care about you. And we've seen these things. We've seen the things that happen in Dubai. They don't give a shit about you. They just there, ukuthi bathole lento bona abayifunayo abanandaba. And that's why I always say, mina ngeke ngize ngithule noma bangangidraga, bangibiza amagama, anginandaba. As long as those two people, I've had testimonies. I've had a girl who said, Sis Lebu, I was about to kill myself. And because of your story, and that girl today is a pilot. You know what I'm saying? So there are people who benefit. And there are those obviously who are going to judge. And it's really
and it's okay. As long as you pay your part and you're happy about it.
And I'm going to continue, sis.
Don't stop.
I'm going to
And I'm trying to
continue.
learn something. Honestly speaking, I don't want to lie to you. Besifundiswa nge-HIV esikolweni, besifundiswa nge-AIDS, but what you just told me or what you just shared with me today, I don't think I knew. Because it sounds new to me. It's something like I don't think I knew.
And
also,
it's only because we only care about things that affect us, which makes sense. The reason I've got information about HIV is because it's affected me. You know what I'm saying? Right? So don't feel bad for not knowing. Until into ifika kuwe. I didn't care about hypertension, kidney failure, or whatever. Manje. Igime. I need to read up on it. I need to know about it. So it's the same with HIV. As long as I know ukuthi khona condom, like we've got that mentality about everything.
basaphanda ngama-condom clinic.
Yes, they do. They were out of stock.
Out of stock. Asasetshenziswa. Out of stock because asasetshenziswa, out of stock because the government is no longer giving us.
No, it was technical things. If Begassetshenziswa, then we wouldn't have new infections. People don't use condoms.
Oh, we still have new infections.
We do.
The stats are high.
Yeah, it's the AIDS conference in a couple of weeks, so we'll be
informed,
getting new information. It's the AIDS conference, just I think after next week on the 21st. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to follow all her social media platforms which is Lebu Brenda Motsumi on Facebook. She'll let you know more about her book and inbox her, send her comments if she can't answer all inboxes. Try to do something. I've learned and I believe you can also learn. This is Lebu Brenda Motsumi, the HIV babes. Oh, baby, HIV. Oh, baby, HIV. So thank you very much for coming, Sandra-sam. Take care of yourself. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your voice.
Thank you.
Because it changes lives as much as you get criticized for it. But I appreciate the fact that you don't stop. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
It's a wrap, guys.